Why cutting carbs keeps you stuck and what to do instead. I'm going to be walking you through the carb regulation protocol and how to lose weight, lower your A1C, and reverse your diabetes whilst eating bread, rice, pizza, pasta, and even sweets. Now, before we go any further, my name's Chris Feekins, and I am a type 2 diabetic specialist. My area of expertise is helping ladies just like you, ladies who have been diagnosed with either pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. You've tried the diets and they've not led to a long-term result, weight loss that you've kept, and remission that you've kept. The goal here is not to manage diabetes, it's to reverse it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Over this crash course, the objective is to help you understand why cutting carbs completely backfires for most women with type 2 diabetes, what actually causes blood sugar spikes. Hence, it's not just what we think as being bad foods. How to use the trifecta rule to regulate carbs and still hit your goals, and what the carb regulation protocol is and how you can use it to drop 6 to 10 pounds and drop your blood sugars by 30 to 40 points in the next month without giving up your favorite foods. Now, this crash course is essentially a part 2 to a part 1 that we did last week called Baseline Breakthrough. And that's the 2 to 3 simple adjustments that we make in order to get these results started, get these things kick-started in a way that requires less than 10 minutes a day. So this is part 2. We have got part 1. If you haven't seen that yet, all you have to do is send me a message saying baseline, and I'll send that over to you as soon as possible. Now, part 1, the carb lie that's keeping you stuck. Let's be honest. You've probably been told, right? You've probably been told to cut carbs, to avoid bread, to skip rice, and never eat sweets again. And even though you've tried to follow that advice, you feel deprived, you binge, you give up, and then you blame yourself, right? And the problem with this is these approaches feel far too restrictive. The more restrictive an approach feels, the more sacrifice it requires, the less likely you are to stick to it. But what if the real problem wasn't actually carbs? What if the real issue is how those carbs are being used without structure and without balance? You see, carbs are not actually the enemy. The misuse of carbs is the enemy. Too much, too often, without protein and without balance, true balance. That's what causes blood sugar spikes. That's what stalls weight loss. And that's what keeps you stuck. And here's the kicker. If you've been on diets that forced you to eliminate your favorite foods for weeks, months, or even years, then your brain remembers that. It's learned to panic when those foods do show up. And that's not lack of willpower. That's a survival response from past restriction, scarcity. So if you've ever said, once I start, I can't stop, there's a reason for that. And you can fix it, right? There's a solution to that. There's a reason why it's happened. And, you can fix it. Let me make this a bit bigger so you can see it. Here we go. So part 2, why cutting carbs doesn't work long term. Let me tell you about Stephanie first. She had tried everything. She'd wanted to lose weight for over 30 years. She'd tried keto, paleo, low carb meal plans, skipping every food she loved, and she lost some weight, but she always gained it back. Why? Well, the first problem was what we've already kind of mentioned, was sticking to it was difficult. It was too restrictive. Right, that's the first problem. Sticking to it is too hard. That's not, again, a willpower problem. It's not because you need to be more motivated. It's not because you need to want it more. It's because the approach just isn't any good. if I'm being brutally honest with you. It's too restrictive. We can't stick to it. It's too hard. That's the first problem. The second problem was she never learned how to regulate carbs. She never learned how to regulate, how to manage her favorite foods, only how to restrict them. So as soon as she reintroduced the foods she loved, she rebounded. And when you constantly tell yourself, I shouldn't have this, I can't have this, that food then builds emotional power, right? That food now holds emotional power over you. So when you do eat it, it's nearly impossible to stop at just one. And once we introduced the CRP, the carb regulation protocol, a few things changed. First of all, she started eating pizza again. She enjoyed bread, right? She enjoyed, takeout nights with the kids, with the grandkids, with the family. She even had sweets at family events, and she still dropped 55 pounds and reversed her diabetes. You're probably thinking, how? She followed the CRP and the trifecta rule, which is the foundation of the CRP, which we're going to be going through in just a moment. So, the trifecta rule and how the CRP actually works. The carb regulation protocol is built around one core principle. You don't need to cut carbs. We need to learn how to control them, how we're able to eat carbs without binging, how you're able to eat the foods that you love, whether that's bread, pasta, rice, sweets, without over consuming, without feeling completely out of control. Because if that's you, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you, but there's a reason and there's a solution to that. That doesn't have to be the case, but we'll come back to that in just a moment. Now, the trifecta rule is essentially 3 rules, right? First rule is portion. How much are you eating in one sitting? You don't need to skip pizza. You just need to not eat the whole thing, right? You can have bread, just not 3 slices with your meal or 4 bread rolls with your meal. And by the way, if you feel like you have to finish the plate, even when you're full, you're not alone. That's a deeply ingrained belief that we gently untangle. So we've got portion. That's the first rule in the trifecta rule. The second is frequency. How often are you eating those higher carb meals? For example, having a donut once a week is harmless. That's not going to cause any damage whatsoever. One donut a week is insignificant. It's not going to change anything. But eating a donut 3, 4, 5 times a week, not so much. That's probably going to cause some issues, right? And here's something that, most coaches just never talk about. When life feels stressful, overwhelming, emotional, that's when moderation is the hardest, right? Carbs, if we're not careful, food can become a comfort tool, not just a food. We have to recognize that pattern and shift it without shame. And that's what we do. We apply solutions to all of these nuanced challenges, right? So the reason I'm telling you this is because I don't want you to feel doomed, stuck. This is just the way it has to be, because it doesn't. In fact, if we are going to lose 40 to 60 pounds plus, lower our A1C, reverse our diabetes, and get off meds, we've got to address these patterns with simple and easy solutions. Because if you don't, you're just going to repeat the same patterns of behavior. And if you repeat the same patterns of behavior, nothing's ever going to change. So we've got portion, we've got frequency, and then lastly, we've got balance. Are you balancing high carb foods, meals with lighter ones somewhere in your diet, right? If you're having a heavy dinner like pizza, lunch might have to be, a lighter meal, lower in calories and carbs and perhaps higher in protein. Now, you haven't got to count calories, carbs, or protein, but it still counts. It still matters. And we have to be aware of it, because if we're not, that's the foundation of diet, right? If we don't address calories, carbs, and protein in some manner, you're going to be stuck spinning your wheels. And again, that doesn't mean you've got to count them, but they still count. They still matter, right? Now, this structure allows for flexibility without falling into an all or nothing spiral, right? Now, you can apply the trifecta rule to any food. Doesn't matter what food. Doesn't matter if it's bread, pasta, rice, sweets, Taco Tuesday. Doesn't matter, right? Individual food doesn't mean anything. Individual food, an individual meal is not going to dictate whether you lose weight this week or whether your A1C is down in 3 months. One meal doesn't matter. What matters is portion, how much of a food that you eat, like donut, right? One donut's fine, right? Portion, frequency, right? One donut every now and then is fine, but 3 or 4 donuts across the week, probably not. So portion how much in one sitting, frequency how often you eat it, and then balance what else you eat in order to somewhat accommodate for that. Because if you don't accommodate for higher calorie, higher carb foods, what that means is your calories are high, you don't lose weight, your carbs are high, blood sugars are out of control. And this is quite literally what we coach the ladies that we have inside of the diabetes inner circle. And this is the path of least resistance. Conventional diets just do not work. They're too restrictive. They don't make way for holidays, birthdays, your favorite restaurant, your favorite takeout. You've already got the evidence. You've already got all of the receipts that are needed. You know they don't work. And again, it's not because you lack motivation or discipline or you need to just want it more. That's not the problem. The problem is that the approach just doesn't work. And again, you've already got that evidence, right? So what kind of results are possible once you follow this new approach? Right, the flexible approach, a lifestyle that you can actually stick to that isn't just miserable, right? 6 to 10 pounds gone in the first month, right? 30 to 40 points down with your blood sugars, right? In a month. No more guilt or binging, no more binge and restrict cycles, no more starting over Monday, and long-term weight loss that actually sticks. Because if you can learn how to manage the foods that you love, how you can eat bread, pasta, rice, sweets without binging, without overeating, now that's a recipe for lifelong success, right? I'm sure we can all agree. Now, some really quick stories of ladies that we've worked with. Joanne reversed her diabetes and lost 46 pounds while still eating toast. Toast is a food that she loved. Kathy dropped 140 pounds. She lost half of her body weight without giving up sweets. Denise brought her blood sugar down 40 points in 10 days. And Jackie fits into a size of jeans that she's not worn in 40 years and still enjoys her weekly pasta night. Now, none of this is luck. These ladies aren't unicorns. They're normal ladies just like you. What helps is structure. It's emotional safety and it's habit repair. Undoing years of scarcity around food and emotional power held by food, right? Now, what this actually looks like for you, you watching this right now. Now, I hope you now understand that you don't need to cut carbs. In fact, if you cut carbs too much, you're going to create a miserable approach and you're probably not going to stick to it, right? Even if you do stick to it and you do achieve the goal, you're probably not going to keep it, right? And again, this is not me telling you something that you don't already know, right? You don't need to follow a meal plan. Meal plans are far too rigid. Life isn't the same every day. Schedule changes, emotions change, all kinds of different things change. Life is like a meandering river, right? And our approach needs to be able to meander with it. It's not just a rigid straight path like a meal plan is. That's why meal plans just don't work, right? And you don't need to feel miserable to get results. You just need a system that feels enjoyable and is actually sustainable. A smarter strategy and a coach who's walked hundreds of women through it. Right? That's what the CRP gives you. A plan that fits your life, a way to enjoy your favorite foods, and a proven method And the best of all is you can start seeing results in less than 10 minutes a day, right? And if you go back and watch the baseline breakthrough video, we break that down in more detail. Again, if you want that, send me a message saying baseline. Now, one last final thought. Bread doesn't make you fat. Rice doesn't cause diabetes. Sugar isn't a villain. It's how these foods are used and how you feel around them that actually matters, right? So if you've ever said, I just can't be trusted around carbs, I hear you, right? There are real invisible forces working behind the scenes that makes that difficult, like diet trauma, emotional triggers, scarcity patterns, and maybe so low self-belief. But those forces can be reprogrammed. They can be addressed with specific solutions, one habit at a time, one small win at a time. And once you fix that, you can lose weight sustainably, 40, 60 pounds plus. You can lower your blood sugars. You can reverse your diabetes and get off all meds and finally feel in control without sacrificing everything that you love. Right now, I know we've mentioned that baseline breakthrough video a few times. Send me baseline. I'll shoot that over to you. I've also got another video that breaks down all 3 steps, right? Baseline breakthrough, the carb regulation protocol, which is what we've just gone through, and lifestyle realignment, which is the glue that sticks everything together, right? If you'd like that, send me a message saying roadmap and I'll get that sent over to you. I say roadmap because the entirety of this system is called the remission roadmap, right? A direct path to achieving remission in the most sustainable way possible, right? Any questions about any of these things that you've just spoken about? All you have to do is send me a message. I don't want you to leave feeling more confused than you came. I'm sat here in this chair recording this video to help you. So send me a message if you have got questions, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.